Basketball fans, welcome back. So this is a part two of why the Nigerians Basketball League and their federation is sinking to oblivion. So in a continuation from where we left off in the previous video. So we talked about the Tigers being able to rebound, although they had like a few wrangles in there. They were able to even win the last year's Afrobasket with the women's Afrobasket. So moving on to the recruiting coaches and ambitions. So the coach issue was not limited to the Tigers, but it also caused problems in the men's side too. After Nigeria played after the World Cup in China and qualified for the Olympics with Alex Nora as the coach, it was learned that talks began about getting an NBA coach for the men. It was understood that the NBA players in a way suggested that the federation therefore got Mike Brown to serve as the head coach while Alex Nora as his assistant. So you could see there was a few things that happened, especially when it came to the coaching change, and and you can see even from the Nigerian Tigress, there was a bit of question marks, especially when it came to their coaches. But the coaches that were there, especially, they were not the ideal situation with what the Nigerian federation and what the Nigerian national team wanted. But looking at the results that the women's coach has been able to achieve, you can see they're still dominant in the continent and they're back-to-back Afrobasket champions. So Sam Amedu spoke openly against this decision as the crack began to widen. This disagreement has continued to show in other areas too. Amedu, who has used every public medium to state his disagreements in some of the decisions, insists that Kida is running the board almost like a sole administrator. He insists they are briefed on major matters rather than everyone putting their heads together first. He said the federation is run by about 5 members taking the decision. So this is actually an autocratic way of leadership that does not even encourage people to have opinions and also brainstorm on a solution. So it's the same thing that even happens in the Kenya Basketball Federation. You can think that there's a committee or a board that makes decisions, but it's also only one person that makes the decisions there. So it's very autocratic. But another member in a discussion last December said it was not true. The problem is that Sam Amedu wants to be in charge all the time. If he recruits, we accept it, hoping it's a good judgment, but anyone who does not come through with him will be condemned. That's just the problem. So you could see there's an autocratic way of leadership, and corruption and corrupt people are very allergic to accountability, and they bypass and do not respect like other people's opinions. So that's one thing that I've seen. The former Tigers coach Otis Hughley, we understand, was introduced to the board by Amedu when Sam Vincent's deal was terminated and he was accepted. For the men, a United NBBF wanted Ime Udoka first, but Ime was just starting his NBA managerial career and said he could not afford to shuttle both continents at the time. And so a long-time friend of Amedu, Alex Nora, was brought in. So Nora, in his own right, had coached Cape Verde in an Afrobasket competition in Angola, and they defeated Nigeria. His only disadvantage was that he's a high school coach, and the NBBF was not comfortable with that status going into the Olympics with a full squad of NBA players, and therefore sought Mike Brown, a decision that forced Nora out and raised further murmurings within. So you could see a guy was put up, his credentials were not aligning to what was needed, and Ime Udoka said that outright. He couldn't be able to make to shuttle between two to be able to shuttle between like two continents like that. And Mike Brown has been that coach that he coached the national team in the FIBA for Basket 2021, so he's just been quite solid there. So Nwora, because of his credentials, he just got axed like that. So in the men's Premier League, the biggest minus for this board and their infighting is that the men's Premier League has failed to play in full seasons for years. getting a full sponsor for the league has remained a huge task with all the distractions coming from the federation. It has been nearly a deal, but none has worked. The NBBF has done well with the men's division 1 and 2 with full soft sponsorship, but the flagship competition is suffering. So it's the same thing as Kenya, like with so many internal wrangles, corruption, internal disagreements, failed signings, and a lack of trust with people and leadership, and the autocratic way of leadership scares sponsors away, because no sponsor has the intention of just putting more money and investing in a federation or a league that there's no certainty in terms of its stability. So that's the reason as to why they pull away. So the atmosphere that the NBBF created has not helped them being able to even get sponsorship like that. So even get people to invest in it. Not even sponsors, but people just invest in the league so that it can make it profitable, and because of its instability. So the atmosphere has not helped the national teams, especially the men. All manner of gist and rumors have forced some American-based players to stay away, unlike the pre-Tokyo Olympics period where everyone wanted to play for Nigeria. So you're seeing like the frustration that the players are being subjected to, and then especially the players who play in the NBA. I know a couple of them, even who play overseas, want to play for the national team, but the internal corruption and the leadership turmoil that is there, and the autocratic nature and the corrupt nature has forced them not to play for their nation. And that's the same thing that even happens with Kenya, because you have players who play abroad, but because of how KBF is so incompetent and it's so poorly run, just like the NBBF, the players don't find the incentive of representing their country because of the type of leadership is there. If the leadership changed, that's the only time they'll think of playing. So the peace move. So Nigeria has indeed worried, but Nigerians are indeed worried, but there appears to be a faint hope from afar that someday some peace will come. A former director in the Ministry of Sports, Alhaji Abayola, is one of those picked by concerned citizens to help bring NBBF board back to a united front. Incidentally, the major factors in the NBBF imbroglio have been close friends for nearly 40 years. So you could see there's a cartel that is there, and the cartel wants to stay together. Bringing in a new person and a new person brought in is very difficult, because the cartels cannot find a way to corrupt them first. If they can't be corrupted, they are condemned and pushed to the side. That's the reason as to why in the Kenya Basketball Federation, we would rather have Coach Cliff coaching the national team than having a competent coach that coaches, because he's part of the cartel. The cartel it does not care about performance and doesn't care about results. They only care about making money and trips. That's the only thing that that's the only thing that they care about. Even in the NBBF, the cabal that is in the NBBF know each other for more than 40 years and be close friends. So the thing is, when these people stay that long together, they do not see the incentive of improving or even making changes to the league, and that's the reason as to why nothing changes in the league. And that's the same reason as to why the league will remain the same, and the people who are in charge would rather keep the status quo the same. They'll talk about any other issue, but they'll not mention corruption, they'll not mention mismanagement, they're not going to mention any problems there. But the moment somebody says something against them, they get condemned, and that's how it is. So Abayola says it's still a long road to peace. So such meetings can't be a Zoom or online talk. We need to sit down together and let them talk like adults. We've been discussing individually, but it is a very busy year for the African Games to the Olympics, but somehow we will find a way. These men need to put their players and Nigeria first, and once we can achieve that, every single thing will fall in place. So that's the article. I mean, it was a long one, but it was just a glimpse of what we have been seeing. We've seen Chimezi Emetu. He came out with a statement and he said he was not agreeing with how the league was being conducted. Not even how the league, but how like the team preparations for the FIBA AfroBasket 2025 qualifiers were being conducted. Some of the international players pulled out, and it's because of this corruption. And there's no difference between like the KBF and the NBBF. I feel like the level of corruption is different because I feel like the NBBF are much more corrupt than us. Kenya is corrupt, but Nigeria is way more corrupt. But we can see there's similarities in how they operate, and you can see cartels run the league, and the cartels run the selection for the national team, even in the coaching. So it's a very sad state of affairs, and hopefully things can change for the better, because if we have much more discussion on this, maybe we can be able to expose them, and so that people can understand what is really going on in there. So man, this is a long article. So if you guys like the video, make sure you leave your feedback down in the comments. I don't know what you think about this whole situation, man. It's just been a long one to unpack. I know the part one was long, but this one was equally longer, as there were a lot of things just to talk about. So if you guys like the video, make sure you leave your feedback down in the comments, know what you think. And I'm out. Peace.